Humans have been fermenting alcohol since around 7000 BC. Why we started to do this, no one's entirely sure, but it's certainly something we continue to do today. If you consume alcohol, the chances are at some point you've experienced a hangover. And with the festive season upon us, there is a greater likelihood that some of us are going to be experiencing hangovers over the next few weeks. So today I'm going to look at what hangovers are, what you can do to prevent them, and what you can do to manage them. As always, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications when we release more. So a hangover refers to a collection of symptoms that occur after overindulgence in alcohol. The symptoms and severity of a hangover can vary a lot from person to person, but typical symptoms include headaches, nausea, irritability, tiredness and fatigue, sensitivity to lights and sounds, thirst, and even flushing and sweating. Now, there are a few reasons why these symptoms occur. So, alcohol is technically a toxin, but the human body is awesome, and it's incredibly well designed to be able to deal with small amounts of toxins. But an overindulgence in alcohol can be difficult for the body to deal with. So when we metabolize alcohol, a compound forms called acetaldehyde. This compound is formed in the liver as the liver removes alcohol from the bloodstream. And this compound is responsible for causing inflammation throughout the body. So often it's this compound that's responsible for things like headaches, but it can also make you feel quite nauseous if the inflammation is throughout the digestive tract. Another reason why we experience hangover symptoms can be dehydration. So alcohol itself isn't particularly hydrating, but alcohol also causes suppression of a hormone called vasopressin. Vasopressin is also known as the antidiuretic hormone. This hormone signals to the kidneys to reserve fluids when we don't drink enough fluids. So when this hormone is suppressed, the kidneys can release more fluids into the urinary tract, leaving us dehydrated. Dehydration is certainly going to compound symptoms such as headaches, but also irritability and sensitivity to lights and sounds. Another reason why we get hangover symptoms is because when we're intoxicated and we go to sleep, our bodies can struggle to get into the deep reset part of the sleep pattern. This can leave us feeling very tired and fatigued the next day, and will certainly compound with our irritability. Anyone who's ever had a poor night's sleep will contest that sleep does prevent irritability. So, what can you do to prevent a hangover? In reality, there is only one way to prevent a hangover, and that's not to drink alcohol, or at least not to drink too much alcohol. However, humans are very social creatures, and alcohol is a very social drug. So from time to time, we will overindulge. There are things, though, that you can do to limit the effects of overindulgence in alcohol. So the first thing is to make sure you're well hydrated. So drink plenty of fluids before you start consuming alcohol, but also it's wise to consider alternating your alcoholic drinks with non-alcoholic drinks, as this will help to maintain your hydration levels. It will also slow down the amount of alcohol you're consuming. There are also compounds within some alcohols that can exacerbate the symptoms of a hangover. So one of these compounds is something called sulfites. So sulfites are commonly added to some foods and drinks to aid in the preservation. So you often find them in dried fruits, but you also find them a lot in wine. Sulfites in particular have been shown to increase headaches the next day. Now, some people are more sensitive to sulfites than others. If you drink wine, you will know whether you're sensitive to sulfites or not by how your head feels the next day. Sulfites are one of the 14 main allergen groups. So in the UK, sulfites do legally have to be mentioned on the labels of products. So on wine, it will be mentioned on the back of the bottle, and you can get sulfite-free wine. Another compound in alcohol that can exacerbate hangovers is something called congeners. So congeners are naturally formed as part of the fermentation process, but these have been shown to exacerbate most symptoms of a hangover. You find congeners predominantly in the dark alcohols, so things like whiskey and rum. So limiting your intake of those can help to prevent some of the symptoms of a hangover. Now, there is a belief that if you consume food before drinking alcohol, this prevents you from getting intoxicated and therefore prevents hangover symptoms the next day. Unfortunately, this isn't entirely true. It is important to eat food before you consume alcohol, as it will give you nutrients. But also, food can protect the stomach from the irritant effects of alcohol. What food does do is it slows down the rate at which alcohol is absorbed. So you might not feel you're getting as intoxicated quickly, but trust me, the alcohol will still enter your bloodstream. So eating before consuming alcohol is important, but it won't prevent you from getting a hangover. So what can you do to manage the symptoms of a hangover? Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again, hydration is incredibly important. If you've been drinking during the day or the evening, make sure you have a glass of water before you go to bed. And the next day, make sure you consume plenty of fluids. It's wise to sip at water little and often rather than try to drink a large amount in one go, as a large amount might irritate your stomach further. Electrolyte drinks can help to hydrate you a lot faster than water, as they contain minerals that can help to regulate fluid balance. Unfortunately, electrolyte drinks often contain a lot of sugar, which isn't great for things like your mood or your energy levels. So I'd suggest something like coconut water. Coconut water contains natural electrolytes, minerals, but it's also naturally low in sugar. It might be tempting to drink a lot of tea, coffee or energy drinks to help combat the tiredness and fatigue. And while these will help in the short term, in the long term, these might leave you feeling more dehydrated and potentially more tired. So do limit your intake of these. Instead, opt to eat foods that contain slow-release carbohydrates. So things like oats and vegetables are a really good option. They contain slow-release carbohydrates, but also vital nutrients to help your body repair. A fried English breakfast might be really tempting when you're hungover, but it's actually quite hard for your body to digest fats and proteins. So while your digestive system is a little more sensitive, try to steer away from fatty foods or foods that are high in protein. Now, because alcohol is a diuretic and it's a toxin, you're likely to need a few more nutrients while you're hungover, because some of the nutrients will have been flushed out with the urine, and some of those nutrients are going to be required to repair the body. I'd suggest taking a good quality multivitamin. Something like Solstick Nutrition is a really good option. It contains your full spectrum of vitamins and minerals, but it's delivered in a nice powder form that you add to water. So along with those nutrients, you will be getting some hydration too. As I mentioned earlier, inflammation is a reason why we experience a lot of hangover symptoms. Now, you can use over-the-counter anti-inflammatories to reduce the inflammation, but a lot of these can actually be quite irritating on the digestive system, particularly if you're struggling to eat much food. Instead, I'd suggest trying something like turmeric. So turmeric has a great natural anti-inflammatory action, but it's also been shown to be really beneficial for liver health overall. So you can add turmeric powder to a mug of hot milk to make a nice drink that's soothing on the digestive system. Or you could take turmeric or curcumin capsules. The capsules will contain a higher level of the anti-inflammatory and again will be gentle on your digestive system. One of the major symptoms of a hangover is nausea, feelings of sickness. Ginger is really useful for addressing these. So ginger has a natural antiemetic effect. It's often used to help combat things like morning sickness or travel sickness, but it's also really useful for the nausea that comes with a hangover. If you like the taste of ginger, things like ginger biscuits, ginger tea, or even crystallized ginger can be useful. But if you don't like the taste of ginger or you're struggling to eat, then smelling ginger essential oil can also reduce those feelings. I'd recommend just adding 2 drops to a tissue and dry inhale that whenever you have those feelings of nausea. And just a quick note on hair of the dog. So hair of the dog is a belief that if you have an alcoholic drink when you're hungover, that will combat the symptoms. Well, technically it does. It only does that by raising your blood alcohol levels and therefore increasing the toxins in your body again. So it will temporarily relieve the symptoms of a hangover, but really all you're doing is delaying it for later on. So hair of the dog is probably the worst thing you can do. It's also advisable that you give your body a bit of a break from alcohol. Now, at any time of year, it's advisable to have 2 to 3 alcohol-free days a week. But if you're overindulging over the festive period, it's even more important that you occasionally give your body a break from alcohol so it's got plenty of time to rest and recuperate. So hangovers can be a really unfortunate side effect of over-consuming alcohol. But remember, it's your body's way of telling you that you need to slow down and perhaps treat it a little better for a while. There are plenty of things you can do to manage the symptoms of a hangover and reduce the symptoms of a hangover. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell so you get notifications when we release more. And no matter how you celebrate, everybody at Lily Loaf would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.